Howdy everybody, welcome to LEGO Rewind, where we take another look at old retired LEGO themes. Today is only going to be as weird as we make it. I was originally going to do a lightning round covering Ninja and a few other culturally insensitive themes that were controversial in their day or have come to be since, like that was going to be the theme of this episode. But I'm saving Ninja for another time, narrowing my focus to just one aesthetic today, Western from 1996. This is one of those themes people are nostalgic for, and I can see why. But let's be clear, this is very much a romanticized take on the Old West. All those old cowboy films, their politics, the civilized man bringing law to a lawless land. It's nothing like how it actually went. It's an indulgent fantasy. Just something to keep in mind as we look these over. And before anyone jumps on me for being overly sensitive or PC, let me stop you right there. Because you're using the term political correctness incorrectly. The origin and proper usage of the term refers to a narrative that denies objective reality to uphold the status quo. Say, if a leader of a country can see the truth of things, but says, yeah, I don't care what's factually correct, because that doesn't help me keep power. Tell the rabble what helps me politically. It doesn't need to be true, it just needs to be correct. For me. Some of you might know this already, but I don't think enough people do, and some people who cry about PC police or virtue signaling do intend it that way, but only to the extent that they think their outdated or messed up attitudes are the objective reality, and that it is in fact those who confront them or try to challenge the status quo who are the weirdos, the deviants denying the true natural order of things and should just leave well enough alone. But the culture isn't becoming hypersensitive, it's just wisening up as hard truths become ever clearer, instead of willfully ignoring them like we always have. This shouldn't even be political to say, but enough about that. Those of you who haven't clicked away, let's talk about the sets. The first wave is perfectly fine. It's a fair-sized wave, 6 sets centered around cowboys and cavalry soldiers against a slew of bandits, and they change up which side is on the offensive from time to time. What set this line apart from others of the day was a new type of brick that simulated wood. They're as basic as any 1x2 or 4 or 6 or 8 brick, but those little indentations make a world of difference and add a ton of texture and life to these builds. I think the last time we see them used this much was in Vikings, and they aren't overly clean builds, they're nice and rustic. Even the infamous big ugly rock pieces, which I do like, are covered with texture and grit. It's a livelier theme than I remembered. I like the skull with a cowboy hat, and I love the rooftops littered with studs. You could pose the figures up there. Put these all together and you grow a little town, with a general store, a bank, a sheriff's office, and I imagine that fort was the dominant presence in a lot of kids' bedrooms over 20 years ago. The next year brought some big changes, mainly the introduction of Native Americans. Don't call them Indians, that's just being politically correct. And yeah, how many people remember this? Realistic eyes? Noses? And I thought Exoforce was the first to do the eyes. These look kinda like those Clone Wars figures, but even those didn't have noses. That is something completely unique to this sub-theme that LEGO would never do on standard human minifigs again, and it is messing with my head. The designs are very unique and surprisingly respectful, says the white man. I like how rich with detail yet very practical their clothing is. LEGO didn't fall back on the typical half-naked savage look Hollywood loves that they very easily could have, and any other toy company surely would have. It's still a pretty basic caricature, but for the 90s it's not bad.
Indian fortress loomed above. Red Fox grabbed canoe, dodged falling trees, climbed hidden ladder. Sacred shield.
Oh god, I take it back. This is so bad. I think the most important thing to keep in mind is they aren't the bad guys of this theme in any capacity, which is a really low bar, I know. The Cowboys continue to see new releases alongside them, but you notice they're still the typical noseless, beady-eyed minifigs, and you never see any crossover between the two sub-themes, at least in the sets. You never see any natives in a cowboy set or vice versa, and the only fighting is against the unscrupulous outlaw bandits, which I think was a smart move by LEGO. Again, they got every opportunity to make this a run-of-the-mill Cowboys vs. Indians deal, to God forbid maybe even make the natives the antagonists, or literally give them red skin, but nope. The white man's too busy fighting himself while the natives do their own thing. In fact, I like their sets more. They just aren't as desolate as even the nicest cowboy sets tend to be. There's a bigger focus on the landscape, a beautiful balance of earthy tones and brighter colors, and the scenery's just more lush. I miss those bushes, I miss those tree stumps. I remember this set. I think my grandpa gave it to me out of the blue. In fact, I think it might be the first LEGO set I ever had. Before Rescue, before Star Wars, any of that. The teepee is my favorite part. I remember it being very soft, and it just added that extra touch that made the setting feel even more alive. I don't know how other people feel about this theme, least of all the descendants of Native Americans who we continue to trample on to this day, but I think it's as respectful a toy line as any you'd find back then, terrible marketing notwithstanding.
You can't tell me that you can't feel the energy!
You white boys are all the same. I've got dark skin, so I must dance with the bears and listen to the spirit of the wind. I got news for you. I work for a living.
Wait a second, were these reissued? In 2002? Who was still asking for these? Huh. Well, the new box art's nice, but I prefer those richer, sun-drenched tones they had before. I just think they complement the colors of the builds better. The closest thing that's come along since then is the Lone Ranger theme. I never watched the movie, so I don't know if it's any good or not. And Johnny Depp playing Tonto? What? The sets on their own are nice. In fact, they're basically the same. I like the train. I like the mine. That's a beast. But other than that, it doesn't really grab me. I don't know what else to comment on aside from this teepee looking rather rough on the hands. Yeesh. This is why I don't cover movie tie-ins much, if ever. There's only so much LEGO can do because I have to recreate things from the movie. And if that's what you're looking for because you love the movie, or you didn't get the old sets and you want a cheaper alternative, well, there you go. It's nice to see those wood pieces come back one more time, even just a little. But again, I just don't care much for this type of story. I was already lukewarm on the old cowboy sets, and this is just a more grounded version of that. I still love those quote-unquote Indian sets. I just don't know how they'd even attempt to sell a theme like this nowadays. I don't think they'll touch it with a 10-foot pole ever again. But if they did, I wouldn't mind it being something like this, though more respectful and faithful to the actual culture. That's the thing about culture. Things don't suddenly become weird overnight. Some things have always been weird. And if you're used to ignoring the voices that have said as much since day one, and we're just now listening to them, that doesn't mean it just now started being a problem. Maybe for some of you, but not for the people who are already being affected the whole time. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. That's it for today. If you want to support my work, please consider my graphic novel series, Planet Ripple. You can buy the books on Amazon or read an early draft of the first book for free. Links to everything in the description. Next time, we're browsing the pink aisle.
It was an early Lego morning, and something just felt funny. Because Flatfoot Thompson and his gang were in the bank stealing the money. The crooks led to their hideaway and thought they'd be all right. But the sheriff came with 10 strong men who put up one good fight. Now Flatfoot and his bunch would pay for what they've done. Confined inside Fort Legoredo. And that's how this Wild West was won.